So now we're going to talk assignments. So assignments are work that you want students to turn in to you for a grade. And to add an assignment, we're going to click on the Create button at the top, and then you're going to click on Assignment. First, you'll enter in a title. Breakout template, let's do that one. Enter in any instructions that you have for the students. Remember to make sure to keep them concise and not too wordy. The less opportunity you give the kids to skip something, the better. So remember numbered lists, the dash, or even an emoji to make a list type of format so students know what they need to do, and the order that they need to do it is best for the instruction area. You can click on Add. So I'm going to click Add, and you can add from your Google Drive, a link, a file from your computer, or a video from YouTube. The one important thing here is if you're adding something like an attachment, I'm going to go to my drive and find a file that I would want to give to the kids. So I'm going to, let's say, give them this PDF. Off to the right, you'll see a drop-down box, and that gives you information on how the students will get this file. So if you click on that drop-down box, you have three options. The default is students can view the file. That means they can look at it, and they can't do anything with it. Students can edit the file, means you have one file that you're giving to all of these students, and all of the students can edit that file at once. And then the last option, make a copy for each student, is like taking that PDF to the copy machine and making 25 copies for your 25 students, and then you pass it out to each one of them and they're able to write on it. These options are most important when you're working with documents that are Google files. So Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides, and Google Drawings as well. If it's a PDF, depending on how the students are going to be accessing the file, if they're doing it from an iPad from the Google Classroom app, they may have some more flexibility with what they can do with the file rather than these simple options here. I would suggest anything that you're giving to the students that you may want them to turn in, I would always suggest using make a copy for each student. What that will do is take this file, Newsela PDF view, and when the student opens this assignment in their own Google Classroom, it will make a copy of that file, it'll put it in their Google Drive, and it'll put their name on it, so they have their own copy. If you put students can view a file, then that file lives in your Google Drive, it's yours, and students only have view access to it. So if they need to make any changes to it, add notes, write on it, or do anything with it, they'll have to make a copy of the file into their own Google Drive, and then they'll be able to make changes. So basically, I would say anything you're going to give to the kids that you want back, just like if you're giving them an assignment, you want them to turn it in, choose make a copy for each student. This option will only appear when you're initially creating the assignment. If I accidentally left it as students can view file and I assign it, which I'm going to do so you can see what happens. If I go, oh no, I messed up and I need to fix it. If I then click on the three dots to edit the post, and I try to come back here to the drop down, that make a copy is gone. And the reason is because that assignment has already been sent to the students. And now that the students have opened it, that file can't then get created. So that creation happens when the students open it for the first time. So I'm going to close out of this, and I'm going to delete this assignment. and I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to create assignment again. And I'm going to say article to markup. I'm going to go to add again. I'm going to go again to Google Drive and go to my drive and use that PDF again. And now this time I can make a copy for each student. What I would suggest is per assignment, only have one thing that the kids need to turn back into you. So let's say I need them to mark up this article and a second article. I would have 2 separate assignments. So each article per. I would not put both of them in this one assignment, because if students only do one part and they turn it in, it's going to be confusing for you to try to send it back to them and say, you need to fix this one part. You didn't do everything. So I would suggest one item that they need to turn back into you per assignment that you create. Hope that makes sense. So if I had another item I needed them to mark up, I would create a whole nother assignment. If it's something that they just need to maybe view to finish the assignment, go ahead and add those extra resources. Just be sure to put in the instructions what exactly the students need to turn into you. Whenever the assignment gets created, the files that they're just using as a material for the assignment will show up in one location, and the file that is theirs to actually work on to turn in will show up in a separate location so that the students won't get as confused. So I'm going to put in my instructions here. Then you can select where it's going to go to, which classes and which students, assign the point value or make it ungraded. The due date is there as well, so that you can say when it is due. You can select your topic just like before. And then underneath down here are 2 separate pieces. We're going to talk about rubric in just a second, but the originality reports is for if you want Google to check it for originality, kind of like turnitin.com. The only bad thing about this is you can only do this for 3 assignments for your class. And if you click on that little link, it'll tell you more information about the originality reports if you want to use it when creating an assignment. If you want to use it on more than 3, I believe you have to pay. Yes. We have a regular G Suite for education accounts, so only 3 assignments per class. You can use that originality report. The other option that is here is a rubric, which I absolutely love. And if you click on that plus sign, you can either create a rubric from scratch, reuse a rubric that you may have already used before, or import one from Sheets. I'm going to click Create Rubric so that you can see how this works. Up at the top for this, you've got instructions. So it gives the name of my assignment that I created, article to markup. And then it tells me add the criteria I want to evaluate. I can include performance levels, descriptions, etc. The students will receive a copy of the rubric with their assignment, so they'll know exactly how they're being graded. You can choose to use scoring or not use scoring, and sort the point order by ascending or descending. So what I would do is create my criteria. So let's say the students had to include the highlighting of at least 1 sentence. So highlight 1 sentence. Then I can describe what that criteria is supposed to look like. So I can put that description here. And then I put in how many points it's worth. So this section here is going to be the levels of are they going to get credit or not get credit, or how many points will they get credit for. So if this entire criteria is worth 10 points, I may put 10 as the highest, so I can type in just the point value and leave it alone, or I can give even more descriptions. So my level title might be exceeds expectations, and then more information can go here if needed. If I need to add a level either to the right or to the left, I can click on that plus sign. So if I want the highest point value to be there, I can add another level here and say 5 is going to be, they met the expectations, and have the description. And then another point value of did not meet expectations, and then more information. And again, the only thing that's required here is the point value. So if you didn't want to type in those level titles, you don't have to. Then you can add additional criteria. So you can keep doing this exact same thing over and over and over again. And then I can add my point value in again. If they were different, I could continue to do this, but if I wanted to keep the same kind of 10, 5, 0, if I go off to the right of either of these criterion, I can click on the 3 dots and I can say duplicate. It will duplicate everything that's there, and so then I can just change what that criteria is. So I can have them highlight or circle a photo. Okay. It'll keep a running total up here at the top for me. So if I did need to adjust any point values to maybe make this equal 100 or whatever it is I wanted it to equal, I could. For transferring to gradebook wise, I would say make this equal 100 or make it equal something that's easily transferable to 100% so that the kids would be able to figure out their grade better. I always like to go with the 100-point scale. That way it makes it easier for them to know exactly what grade they're going to get in the final grade book. You can move these around. So if you click on that drop-down box, or excuse me, if you click on those 3 dots, you can choose to move the criteria up, down, or delete if you need to as well. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this again. So I've got at least 50 points, and then I'm going to click Save. You'll see that rubric shows up right there. If I needed to make changes to it, I can click on it. It'll open that window back up again, and then I can click on those 3 dots and edit, and it'll bring me back so that I can make changes if I need to. Okay, so I'm going to assign this. Again, I could save it as a draft or schedule it as well. So here is my article to mark up. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And so there are the instructions that the students would see, and they would see that rubric as an example. So let me show you 2 different things. One, let me show you this from the teacher side, and then let me show you from the student side. So I'm going to go into digital notebooks using iPad, another class I've done, and I am going to go to the create your own assignment and find my student. And then as a teacher, if she had turned this assignment in, these I did just based off of a 1-point scale, so they either got it or they didn't. I didn't create multiple levels. And so what I can do is, did she have the one notebook named Digital Notebooks? She did, so I'm going to click on this bar, and when I click on that bar, it automatically puts the 10 points in. You can also do partial credit, so let's say she did create a section named OneNote, but it doesn't live in the Digital Notebooks notebook. Kind of confusing. I can click in this box and I can put 5 points. So she got partial credit. If I had put more descriptive information here, it would have that same information that I typed into the article to mark up option, and it would give more information. If I had the 10, the 5, and the 0 like I did before, then you would see 2 additional bars so that you can easily click on them to add those points for the rubric so that the student can see what they got points for and what they didn't get points for. And then it adds it all up for that grade. And then you can return that to the student. Okay, and then on the student side, if I go to that class, so I can go view the assignment, and then I can see this is what I got credit for, didn't get credit for, and see my grade. If it's something I haven't done yet, and I need to turn it in like this one to view it, so that you can get an idea of this is what it would look like on the student side. To see the instructions, these are materials that would help the students turn in their work, and then the rubric so that I can see how much everything is worth. And then once that gets graded, those bars would become colored. If I had assigned a file with the student to the student, it would show up under the Your Work section. So let me show you what that looks like. And you can see here the instructions again. These are the files that are there as materials to help the student. So I told them watch and then gave them the file name, watch Quarantine Bingo, how to complete, watch how to export, and then I gave them all this Keynote file. So I did make a copy for each student. Notice it's got my name in front of it. This is where the files that your students need to work on, this is where they will show up. If I need to add something and turn something in with this assignment, I would click on Add or Create, add my attachment, and it shows up here on Your Work. Here's what the assignment would look like on the iPad. You've got the instructions at the top. You have the attachments that you can't see the preview on, but you can see the file names. So that's why it's important in the instructions that if you have attachments or materials they need to look at, they're there. And then you'll notice that the Your Work is at the bottom of the screen and you can't see any attachments that are there. So the students are going to have to tap on that plus sign, not the plus sign, the arrow pointing up, and then they will see that attachment that's there, or click to add any attachments. If there was a rubric assigned with this particular assignment, the rubric would show up on this screen in the Your Work area. So it just depends on how students are accessing Google Classroom, whether it is from a computer or their iPad, more likely than not. And then on their iPad, are they accessing it from the Google Classroom app, or are they accessing it from Safari? Because they can do both ways. So those are all your helpful tips on creating assignments in Google Classroom.